Днес в банкноти от имоти ви срещам не просто с инвеститор от световен мащаб, не просто с мултимилионер, а с човек, който сам е изградил легендата за живота си. Той е роден в Бъкстън, Англия, израснал е в бедност, преминал през моменти на домашно насилие и години, в които е спял по пейки с майка си. От пълно отчаяние до над 150 недвижими имота в цял свят. От най-лошия търговец в фирмата до най-награждаването. Марко Робинсън не е просто инвеститор в имоти, той трансформира животи. Той е човекът, който буквално подарява домове на бездомни, както в нашумялото му TV шоу Get a House for Free по Channel 4. Човекът, който влезе в Netflix със своят филм Legacy of Life, достигнал номер 2 в ранглиста на САЩ. Марко притежава рицарска титла, връчена от индонезийската кралска фамилия за неговия принос към социалните каузи и предприемачество. Той е и автор на книги, международни бестселери, включително The Financial Freedom Guarantee, които описва своята 10-стъпкова система за постигане на финансова независимост чрез имоти. Система, която променя хиляди съдби. От човек, който е нямал къде да живее, до ментор, който учи как да живееш с цел. От самота до социална мисия да помагаш на бездомните. От дъното до финансова и лична свобода и човек за пример. Днес ще говорим за всичко това. За неговите провали, за схемите за успех, за това как създаваш 7-цифрена империя без стартов капитал. Как да имаш стотици хиляди последователи в социалните мрежи. И най-вече за това как да станеш героят в собствената си история. Скъпи приятели, в поредния епизод на Банкноти от имоти ви представям сър Марко Робинсън. Това е Банкноти от имоти, бизнес предаването за елитни инвеститори, което образова и вдъхновява. Man, it's just more than an honor to meet such an inspiration. Welcome, Sir Marco Robinson.
Well, pleasure to be here. Pleasure to be here. Yeah.
Thank you for accepting our invitation. I have a simple question to begin. You're such an inspiration. How is it possible that someone who used to be homeless, sleeping on the park benches with his mother, who dropped out of school at age of 15, who was the worst salesman in his company, now used to own more than 150 properties around the world, holds a royal knighthood title, gives away homes to the homeless people, produced and acted a film ranked number 2 on Netflix in US, and is the author of best-selling books that changed lives around the globe. How is that possible?
That's a good question. I mean, I've always dreamed of doing more than where I was in my life. I always dreamed. So, you know, I was the boy in the classroom, in school, at the back of the classroom, looking out the window, wanting not to be there.
All the time?
I just didn't like school. Academics didn't agree with me. And I found it very difficult to engage with academics and those kind of subjects. And I later found out that I was autistic, ADHD, neurodiverse. That's why, obviously that made sense to me because I just couldn't concentrate. You know what I mean? But because there was a lot going on in my life, when I was a child, there was a lot of domestic violence. So I used to come home with people that it wasn't like arguing, it was people throwing things at each other. It was violent. It was a violent environment. And for a kid of 6, 7 years old, what do? You run away and you hide. And I used to sleep under the bed, not on the bed, because it was always going on. So your adrenaline was going all the time. And you know, science says that children are scared of loud noises and heights. That's it, right? Even as adults. And that stayed with me. Till now, but now I can cope. I have strategies to cope with it, right? And of course I used to get bullied because I was very withdrawn. I was very shy. So I had red ginger hair. I was very small, very white, very shy, and I got picked on. I got bullied a lot, and I got bullied so much that I had to, you know, every day was torture for me in school to get away from the bullies. But the trade-off of running away from bullies was I became a faster runner. So I would like get faster and faster, and then I went into this kind of competition in the school, like district area championships, and I won. I was the fastest runner for like years, and I was beating people like 15 years old. I was like 11 years old, so I got really good at running. So there's always a benefit somewhere, you know. And also my mum, she taught me chess. I don't know if you play chess or you've played chess, but she taught me chess because Chess for her was her way of escaping the noise. So she took her time and she taught me because my stepdad wasn't really there much. So I learned chess and I became the school chess champion.
Even then?
Even then.
Congratulations.
During all of that time.
And runner, championship in chess.
But I was rubbish at school. Academics were not me.
This is before 15, age of 15.
Yeah, before, like, you know, mathematics I didn't like. English was okay. I just found the whole school system completely useless for me.
How come?
Because they don't teach how to be successful in school. They don't teach financial education in school. They don't teach how to cultivate relationships in school. They don't teach communication in school. They don't teach entrepreneurship. They don't teach business. They don't teach how to pay your taxes. They don't teach any of that. So what you learn in school is actually you don't even use it, and unless you're a doctor or a lawyer. Okay, so and I kind of knew that I was wasting my time, but I also knew that I didn't want to go to university. I didn't want to go into more bloody academics, right? So I'd use my imagination, and my imagination got really better and better because I used to escape by looking out the window and pretending that I was James Bond. I channeled James Bond. That was my role model, my avatar.
Was that the seed of the bird of your dreams?
I think it was, yeah. It was the seed of where it went to, because in the early 1970s, James Bond was Sean Connery, then Roger Moore.
Yes.
With the eyebrows, right? So that the big film at the time was The Man with the Golden Gun.
Oh, okay.
And Live and Let Die, and those kind of films. So I got lost, and I imagined myself in Southeast Asia, in tropical climates, with beautiful women, with fast cars, with loads of freedom. And that actually became my life. I actually manifested exactly what I wanted.
Did that help you decide that you want to drop out of school, or was it other type of act, dropping out of school?
I think because there's something happened. What happened is that my mum left my stepdad, and she found someone that she stayed with for 45 years. So it was the right guy.
Oh, okay.
And I knew it was the right guy, but I didn't want to put any pressure on her by me going with her. Do you know what I mean? When she left.
Yep.
I didn't want to go stay with him.
Yeah. Her own life.
Correct. So I said, listen, you go and do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, I didn't want to stay with my stepdad.
No.
So what I did is I went around the town and I spoke to the shopkeepers in the town. And I said, listen, I've got no experience, but I'm going to learn to clean your floor. I'm going to be the cheapest at it and the best. Would you give me a chance?
What did they say?
They said, pretty much they said no. Most of them said no.
It was international
but
language,
one or two said yes. Like smaller places, because they were concerned, because I was genuine. You know, I wanted to do it. So I did it. I started cleaning floors, and it became better and better and better. And it was a small town, so that, you know, people talk. And then eventually got into bigger stores, and there was a big department store called Woolworths. Yeah. And I was cleaning the floors in there, and I got the keys.
But where did you sleep during
Well,
that?
that's the thing. I didn't have a place to sleep. So I slept in the basement and I slept in the roof, but no one knew I was there.
All right.
Because I was very, very good at hiding and running away from things.
Just a question.
Yeah.
What did creating such an astonishing result by just mopping the floors taught you as a future entrepreneur?
It taught me the power of work ethic.
How come?
Because even though cleaning is low level, you can actually take pride in that.
I love it.
So I got very good at doing that, but I took pride in it. I actually enjoyed the before and after transformation. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
before and after, like the houses.
Exactly. So it's the same metaphor. Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah. So I learned about work ethic and I learned about business. I learned that you have to. I learned then to trade time for money. Right? But then I also learned, well, hang on a minute, what if I could get people to clean for me?
There you go. And
I got some people cleaning for me.
Come on, you hired guys?
I hired people. I hired people.
Like a business?
Like a business, but very amateur.
How did it go?
Wasn't official.
Yeah.
It was all cash paid, because I was very good at getting the contracts.
Sounds like Bulgaria those days.
Well, it used to be like that in the world. Hopefully, sadly, it's not like that anymore, but you know what I mean. So I did that, but I knew it was only short term because it wasn't what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But I didn't have the confidence to go and do what I wanted to do. So I did that for a couple of years to get some confidence, you know. Yeah, so that's where that came from.
And what about your first salesman job? I heard that you were the best from the first day. Was it true? Or
No,
false?
it's not true. Well, actually, before that, so when I was 18, I got a job in a clothes shop, a very expensive men's clothes shop. The clothes are really expensive.
We're talking about UK here, right?
UK, talking about the UK. And I really enjoyed that because I love fashion. And I used to go to the fashion shows and I actually started modeling on a catwalk at 18, ski wear, and all, you didn't know that. Did all that kind of stuff, really enjoyed it. But again, it was, I mean, I remember my first paycheck for 1 week, it was £51 I got paid. £51 a week. But then you couldn't afford to rent anywhere on that kind of money, right?
No. I guess.
So, and it didn't really go up much. I thought this isn't going anywhere. And, you know, I wanted to be rich. I wanted to make a lot more money. And what happened is the person that used to work in the clothes shop before me, he worked in timeshare in the peak in the 80s.
Just to clarify, timeshare is type of when you buy rights on the prop. Could you explain it in a
so
sentence?
let's imagine,
because it's not popular in
Yeah,
Bulgaria.
so let's imagine you have an apartment, one apartment,
Yeah.
and you have 51 weeks, 52 weeks in that apartment. You can buy a week in that apartment on a holiday in Spain, and it gives you a right to use that week for the rest of your life. That's what it is. And then in Europe,
famous.
in America, it was massive.
Yeah.
Because it saved people a lot of money on holidays,
Yeah.
right? So he came and said, listen, why don't you do this? You can make a lot of money, but it's commission only. And I thought, well, commission only, I'm not going to get paid if I don't sell anything, right?
It's like the real estate agent.
Like real estate agent. So it took me 6 months to kind of, I don't know, to think to myself, well, this is going nowhere, why don't I give it a try?
Yeah.
And I went there in Manchester, and what I realized was that working in retail was nothing like direct sales, right? Direct sales, you had to sit people down and present to them with a pitch, a structure, etc. And I had to learn all of that, but I was very, very shy still, not very confident. And I would take the first no, I don't want it. Okay, never mind, see you again, right? That kind of thing. So I was the worst salesperson they'd ever had. But I was fun, so they kept me around.
Yeah.
I made everyone laugh. But I was the worst salesperson. I didn't sell anything for 6 weeks. And then the boss said to me, he said, Marco, if you don't sell in the next couple of days, we can't keep you. We're going to have to get rid of you.
That was a slap in the face.
It was a slap, but it was it's what I needed, because before that happened, I was everyone has this mind, this inner voice. And the inner voice was saying, why am I such a loser? Why am I not successful? Maybe I should go back and cleaning. This was the narrative. So that narrative was not good for me at all. When he told me that, it gave me perspective, because I didn't want to go back cleaning. And it made me rethink and reframe the whole thing.
Reframe.
So because he gave me pain. He gave me pain.
Not pleasure.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but there are two things that get you to do things in life. There's only two things.
Yeah.
There's only two things where you take massive action.
Which ones?
Desperation and inspiration.
There you go. And this was an act of what?
This was desperation.
Or did you get inspired by desperation?
Well,
this desperation?
I didn't get inspired at that time. I got desperate because I hadn't paid my rent for 3 months. I got no money. I was so desperate. So, and when he said that really said, okay, I've now got a timeline. I've got to do something in this timeline. So subconsciously, I changed my thought process and changed the question to, how can I be successful?
Love it. So you're changing questions
I changed
in
my
your
question.
mind.
I changed the question.
You changed the framework.
I changed the framework.
And
I got different answers.
there you go.
So, but I had to keep doing it because it wasn't coming straight away.
Because, your experience, your past.
I was trying to get rid of the old programming, right? Yeah. So what I did, I decided to keep saying it. I hadn't read any books really then. I just said, right, keep saying it. How can be successful? So the following day, I went into the office, and the top salesperson that I'd never even had a conversation with before approached me.
He came to you.
He came to
the
me.
top guy, the worst guy.
The top guy. He came to me. He said, listen.
That's an honor.
Well, I was like, why is he talking to me? And he said, Marco. I said, yes. I know about your predicament that you're going to get fired in a couple of days. I think you've got something that you don't believe it. So I want to help you. And the reason I want to help you is because someone helped me because I was like you. I was a loser and homeless. I said, thank you very much, I'm not a loser. He said, but you know what I mean? I didn't believe in myself.
Yeah.
And he said to me, if you find someone like you that needs help, you've got to help them. So he gave me a book. He said, this book changed my life, but it only changed my life because I believed the words in it. So I'm going to give you this book. I want you to go home and read the book and not put it down until you get the message. That's the first book I ever read from front to back. And I didn't go to sleep. I read it 8 times.
8 times.
And it was like the perfect book for the perfect time for me. And it was all about believing in yourself. And, you know, I was inspired. Then the goosebumps went and never stopped. And it was like, fuck, I've never felt this way before. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't give a shit. I didn't care about losing anymore.
But it was still you.
It was still me, but it was just another part of me that I hadn't discovered.
Different version, right?
Yeah.
All right. And how did it help you?
So this book just gave me the right messaging, and it gave me access to my belief system, that I had limitless potential.
Like that resources you had. All right.
It made me access my own power, right? And I was shaking with excitement. I couldn't go to sleep. And I put my suit on and I actually ran to work 5 miles. And when I got to work, I was so sweaty. My suit was literally wet through. They says, Marco, you can't come into work. You've got to go home again. But he said to me, that's impressive that you ran. You must be really excited. What's changed? I said, listen, I've just read this book. Just give me a client.
Yeah.
Right?
Come on. Let's give it a try.
Give me a fucking client now. So I said, okay. So I took me home, got changed, went back into the office. And in those days, they would have a big office and they'd have a reception area. And people would come in, husband and wife, and you'd go and collect them in the reception, bring them through to the main office. So I went to collect this couple, and I didn't notice at first, but they had a dog. They had a dog with them, right? And they both were carrying sticks. But I didn't notice it at first. Well, what I've realized was they were both blind.
Oh, man.
So I'm thinking to myself, how the hell am I going to sell them something? They can't even see me. You know, so there was some doubts there, right? But I knew it was a test, right? So I sat them down. I said, listen, I don't care that you're blind, right? I love this product. You're going to love it. And after 5 hours, you're going to give me a credit card and buy it and spend £10,000. And they said, no, we are not, Mr. Robinson. We are not going to do that. Showed me a newspaper. It's a big scam, blah, 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 right? I didn't care. Yeah. I did not care for the first time in my life of losing the sale.
Yeah.
I just cared about me believing in myself. And I just went for 5 hours like this, going all out.
Come on, 5 hours sales pitch?
That was normally the average time that you would present to people. Right?
5 hours?
5 hours.
All right, because some people are, you know, quite not happy for presenting for 15 minutes and they're like, oh, why does it not happen?
Right, because you build a rapport, you build a connection. It's an expensive product. It's £10,000. People don't buy it.
And back in the
it's
time,
not a car. You can't see it. You have to explain it. They have to see it, right? So 5 hours came along and I'd done everything I could and they were objecting. They were disagreeing with me. No, it's not right. This is not right. This is not right. Finished my presentation, sat back like this. And he kind of looked at his wife. Well, he didn't, but he, you know, could feel his wife.
Yeah.
Put his hand in his pocket, got his wallet out, got his gold credit card out and said, listen, Marco, that's the best thing we've ever seen. We would love to buy this. Please put that money on our credit card right now. You were right.
Boom.
Boom!
Sale closed.
First success of my life.
What was the biggest lesson you learned from that whole situation?
Well, I'll tell you, because as soon as he did that, I wasn't even believing this was going on. It was surreal, right? So I said to him, why did you buy from me?
Yeah, that's interesting, by the way.
Right? The salespeople are not supposed to say that, are they? Why did you buy?
Yeah,
and he said, what? This is your first sale? I said, this is my first sale. And he started laughing. We started laughing. And he calmed down and said, listen, Marco, the reason we bought from you is because you transferred your belief to me and my wife, and we believed you, and we absolutely adore it. And thank you for doing that. That was the biggest lesson.
And can we summarize it in a sentence? Like, what is that advice if you have to put in a goat leg?
Whatever you do, you've got to believe in yourself, and you've got to believe in what you're doing.
I gotta be very honest with you. I did listen to that many times, and I stopped and I rewinded that because you said that story before.
Yeah.
One question kept coming back in my mind, and I want to ask you now. You know that many future real estate investors, like beginners, they don't believe that they'll have success, like many entrepreneurs, right? How can you believe in something that you haven't experienced personally yourself? You haven't bought yourself, but you still believe it to the point that other people, clients, believe it because
faith. It's faith, isn't it? It's faith. I mean, real estate is a different ballgame. But you see, you still have to believe in yourself, but you have to have the wisdom to learn how it works, right?
I fully understand, but it's that level of belief and faith, even if you haven't tried this as a service or as a product, and people did buy it because they felt that you believed in that. I mean, this is a game changer. And I really wanted to ask that question because you're like very, very young and you just made a 24-hour transformation. And where did it come from? Where did that belief come from?
Well, it had always been there. But when I started looking for it, I found it.
Great. When did you realize that real estate would be something that you can make a lot of money?
Well, I didn't really I wasn't into real estate at all in my 20s.
Yep.
Right. And when I was 27, I bought my first property. In fact, when I was 26, I bought my first property for £55,000. It was a cottage, beautiful cottage, because I got married.
Yeah.
Right. 2 years later, I was on a plane to Malaysia with my family, being headhunted into this brand new world. And I had to sell my property and get rid of it. I sold it for £54,000.
You bought it for 55.
And I sold it for £54,000.
Oh, okay.
And then a year later, it went up to £200,000.
Come on, really?
It was the biggest mistake in real estate I ever made.
Probably the biggest.
Because I didn't understand how it worked. I didn't understand there are cycles, right?
There you go.
So that was a huge lesson to me. And most of my lessons have been through mistakes.
Mistakes. Is it like something normal? People should learn through mistakes, or should they learn through mentors?
People should learn through other people's mistakes.
Mm-hmm. That's what mentors are for, right?
Right?
Mentors and
that's exactly people. Right. So I was learning by my own mistakes, and it was costing me too much money. So I learned to hire people that really knew what they were doing.
By the way, what happened with that company? You were the worst salesman at that time.
Well, I left that company. I mean, I was.
What happened to you in that company? My bad.
Well, I became salesperson of the month, salesperson of the year, the youngest sales manager, and I was managing people my age now at 22 years old, right? I was the best in the industry, literally the best in the industry in the whole world.
From zero to hero.
Yeah. And then people started contacting me, come and work for us. We know what you're doing. All these opportunities became available to me.
If that belief started you back in the times with your first sale, what did keep you going?
I think the fact that I knew what the blueprint was. I knew I had to stay in my power. And what I did, it just went more into that, and I became more of me. And I've always believed, since that moment, I've always believed in learning. Before that, I didn't believe in learning because I hated school. So from that moment, I've really gone, if I want to do something, I'll go and learn how to do it. It's called mastery.
Mastery.
Right? And to get mastery, you have to read, but then you have to experience it and do it yourself.
Just put it to work.
Just go to work,
Amazing.
And it's that burning desire. It's how badly you want it.
It doesn't happen like they say in the movie The Secret, just by imagining it.
No, I mean, The Secret's a fantastic book, but you don't sit there waiting for it.
No.
What The Secret fails to mention, which is what most manifestation philosophy fails to mention, is that you have to take massive action on your dream, right? Yes, you can be in the frequency, the vibration, and you can attract things. And everything I've wanted, I've got, right? And the manifestation is 50%, the action is 50%.
Oh, that's a good formula.
Yeah.
50-50.
You've got to, and the manifestation is the positive self-talk, the inner voice, the talking to yourself.
Yep.
It's a huge, huge part of it.
Without
that, you can't take the action.
No.
Right?
Is that the reframing part you're talking about?
That's reframing, but it's also investing in the knowledge that you need to learn by just going all the freaking way in. I mean, commitment. I'm talking about commitment. No distractions. Right?
Amazing. What was your portfolio of real estate looked like at its peak?
In 2017, it was over 200 properties in America, Europe, UK.
Owned or with mortgages or how? Like
With mortgages, all leveraged,
all
different
leveraged.
kind of leverage.
All right, tell us more. How did you manage to do that?
I managed to do that because I was very good at making money, cash. And when you'll remember this, but in 2008, what happened?
Yeah, well, by the way, 2008, we were working with a lot of people from the UK. We sold them a lot of houses because they came to buy. And what happened probably was the biggest financial wave in the recent history. Yeah.
So that was the subprime recession.
By the way, you've made such a good
description
in that book, and the people will be able to have it. I was saying, България гарантирана финансова независимост, 10-стъпкова система, която малко по-късно ще говорим за нея. Amazing. By the way, you've put so much effort to explain why did it happen, and I strongly recommend people to read that just to understand, because most probably it might happen again, right?
No, it does.
Yeah,
it's happening now.
Yeah, history repeats.
Yeah, every 18 years there's a cycle.
All right.
2008, it was a subprime crisis. All the property dropped around the world. I explain in that book how it happened, why it happened.
I loved it, by the way. Great.
In very simple language, because the problem with people is people are very easily influenced by government, by corporate people who've got all this power, because the people in power don't want the people here,
of course,
to make money. So it's called ignorance. And it's like COVID. It's the same thing. The COVID bullshit narrative it's now been uncovered. But even at the time, I knew that was complete bullshit. It was just a play for people to steal the most wealth available they've ever stolen in their lives legally. So you've got to imagine if you've got trillions and trillions of dollars and you can do anything you want, what are you going to do? What do people want? More power, more money, more greed, right? So I'm kind of like at a level where, hang on a minute, I can see there's an opportunity here as well. And you can either go against these people or you can learn from what they're doing and take advantage of an opportunity. So in 2009, even then I wasn't buying property. I was in a very unhappy marriage. I wanted to leave and I asked the universe, how can I leave this marriage? And the universe said, write a book about your life in sales. So I wrote a book about my life in sales. So it was 6 months. It became a #1 bestseller. It was like, oh my God, right? But it wasn't making me a lot of money because book sales don't make a lot of money, right? And my question was, I've spent so long writing this book. It's taken me so much effort. How can I turn it into $1 million business? And the answer came. And the answer came not from a strange place, but it actually was obvious when I thought about it. And because I had all these connections in hotels and resorts around the world, I had a network of people where I could access hotel rooms like that, right? And because of the recession, not many people were going on holiday and spending loads of money in hotels. In fact, they had the biggest vacancy rate in the world ever. So I thought, oh, okay. What if I could get some free rooms? What if I could speak to the hotel manager? Listen, give us some free rooms and I'll guarantee those people that check out will spend more money in your hotel than a normal guest.
There you go.
So if you check out your hotel, but you know you're not going to get a room bill, what do you do in the hotel? You spend more money. You go out for lunch, dinner, you spend more. And it happened. So I got like 100 free rooms and I packaged them into a voucher. I charged $50 where people could go 5 days, 4 nights, accommodation free. Worth like $1,000, right? I got 100 of these. I sold them in a week.
To individuals. Following the principles from that book?
Yes, exactly.
Based on your salesman experience?
Exactly, yeah.
There you go.
Because I created value. A value stacked an offer. But I thought, you know what? It's too difficult selling to individuals. Why don't I create a leverage it? Why don't I sell to companies? And at that time, of course, companies weren't doing very well because no one was buying cars and products and stuff like that because they were worried about money. So I said, okay, I'll do like, they buy 1,000 vouchers there for $20, buy 500, buy it for 30. I started selling 1,000 vouchers at a time. And then I thought, this is too hard because I'm still working my ass off, right? So why don't I make this a business opportunity?
Yeah.
And ask people if they want me to train them how to sell it. They pay me a couple of thousand, and I give them 30% commission when they sell to a company. I don't have to do it. So I did that. That company made 12 million in its first year.
How much?
12 million
In a year?
In a year.
No money down. Like,
No money down, just this.
man, that's amazing. That's a story.
That was a very exciting time of my life, right? It was just insane. I was selling to Citibank, Rolls-Royce, Rolex, every company you can imagine was buying it.
And why did real estate, how
I
did
had
it
all this money. And then friends of friends, friends of friends of friends. I didn't really know anybody in real estate. Said, listen, in America, you can buy a house for like $10,000. I thought, what? Really?
Because of the crisis
Yes.
by the time, right? And
I didn't get any for 10,000 because
No?
it was like 2011.
okay.
But I started to build some networks.
Okay.
And I went to America and met some agents because I've got all this money. I said, okay, let's buy. So I started buying properties like 30, 40,000.
Okay. What investment strategy did you choose? You
I just
buy
went
what?
and just bought them cash and flipped them.
Oh, just flip it.
Just flip them.
What about some renovations, improvements, or nothing?
No, just flip them.
All right.
Because I built a database of clients in Asia
Yeah.
because Asians actually save more money, they spend a lot less.
Psychology.
It's culture, it's enculturation.
All right.
So family generations, they don't believe in spending all the money.
Okay.
Asians stay in the same house in 3 generations.
Okay.
Granddaughter, daughter, mum. Okay?
Didn't know that.
Very common in Asia.
Okay.
In fact, in England, when migration of Indians and etc. come over, they live like 10 people in the same house and become doctors. So it's very clever how they do it, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, hang on a minute. These guys got lots of money. I've got lots of property, cheap. Why don't I take the Asians to America and buy the property? So I took the Asians over and put like 20K on the property and sold it to them.
Genius.
So I had our customer database already because all the people I sold to that trusted me, they'd all made money from me anyway.
Yeah.
So they trusted me.
And you make it sound so easy.
It is. It does sound really easy.
I don't believe.
It's really hard work.
I don't believe in easiness.
It's very hard work
Yeah.
because
I know.
when I started that business, I had no clients. I was like, shit, I'm not selling, I'm not sold, they're not sold. And suddenly it kicks in. But it only kicks in when you are so consistent and you don't stop believing in yourself. Because it's so easy to go, this is too hard, I can't pay the bills, I'm going to stop and get a job and deliver Amazon.
Yeah.
Right? Which is what 99% of people do because they can't stand it. They don't have the resilience. They don't have that grit, right? Because that's something that's you're not educated to have grit.
No.
It's within you. And I guess for me, my grit was brought out because of what I went through as a kid.
Great. And how did you build those 150? Like only flipping, or
I started flipping them, and then I got into buying blocks, like blocks of apartments, like a block of 15 apartments, something like that, right? And then the way that I did it, and by the way, I'm going to come to the biggest real estate mistake I made in a minute. But the way that I did it is I'd have these people and I'd have them buy a lease option in the property.
Yep.
I'm sure your listeners know what a lease option is, right? So they'd put a deposit down with the right to buy it in the future at a set price. So I would get the cash in and buy the block, right? And I'd rent it back to them and get a tenant and they'd get some money out of it. But they could complete if they wanted within a certain time frame. And they could get a mortgage to buy it from me. But the lease options are really popular because they were low risk. And that's how I expanded the portfolio.
Great. Did you use other investment strategy to build wealth in real estate? Anything else?
I used leverage. I mean, I would obviously wait till the price of the house increased, and I'd borrow more against it.
What's your investment strategy? What is your time frame, frame of taking decisions? How do you choose if one real estate or property is good or bad for your investment?
I've got 4 criteria.
Would you share them?
Yes, they're in the book. But the most important criteria, which a lot of people never even think about, it's not a common criteria that real estate investors think about. is population growth.
Population growth.
So population growth is when you buy property, it is always better to buy first-time buyer property that people, because affordable properties are more in demand than millionaire properties. Everybody needs to live somewhere. In the world right now, it's very difficult to even get on the first level of buying an affordable home because the prices have risen so much. So they're always the first in demand, right? So what causes population growth?
Usually a good place to live.
Yes, but
Work.
what makes a good place? Right, so there we are, so work. So what I discovered was that if there was a town where companies were investing and creating more jobs, but they were long term, there was a great future there, people were moving there.
Yeah.
So therefore the price went up. You'd never have any vacancies. You'd always have a wait list. So therefore there was demand. That's the most important thing about property investment.
You said that it's great to buy properties and prices are rising in areas where there is a population growth.
Yeah.
Let me share with you something. In Bulgaria, we have a decline of the population.
Yes,
we're not growing, we're
Yeah.
getting smaller. But the real estate market is going up, up, and prices are going up. Is it a good place to invest in Bulgaria or not? What do you think about it?
Everywhere has their own massive opportunity to invest. So Bulgaria has windows of opportunities. It has pockets of opportunities where there are potentially people moving into certain spots but leaving other spots. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So the most important part of property investment is research.
What exactly do you have to research before you put the money into the market?
Where people are going to live, where people are likely to go and live, if the government has any new policies to invest, to attract investors. So, for example, in the UK, Amazon and Starbucks don't pay any tax. Apple don't pay any tax, right? So that's a very attractive proposition for companies to base their locations because they're not going to pay any corporate tax. It's a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
So part of your research is really discovering who's investing it in certain parts of Bulgaria, you know, and is it long term? Who's moving out of certain parts of Bulgaria? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does good investment looks to you? Any parameters, any percentages growth? What is a gold mine, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on your level of risk that you want to walk into.
Yep.
Right? So the lowest level risk are always first time buyer homes, low cost homes, because you're always going to have a tenant. Right? The higher risk is commercial because the tenants are companies and businesses, and you have to research if these businesses have actually got a good track record. Are they about to go out of business? Are they about to lose the license? Is their industry threatened? Is there someone else coming in that's a competitor? Does that make sense?
Yep.
So when you actually look at it as a whole, it just makes sense to invest with that kind of eyes, with those eyes.
Great.
You know, but as a first-time investor, it's always low-cost property because it's low risk. You're always going to get that book is all about creating cash flow so you can retire financially free.
Let's talk about it a bit. Yeah. Just before that, let me ask you, what does financial freedom mean to you? And if somebody asks you, I want to be financially free, what does it mean?
Okay, I'm going to take it really simple, really simple.
Tell me.
Financial freedom is having enough money every month to pay for your lifestyle that you choose.
You work for them or it's a passive income?
Passive income.
Do you believe in passive income?
Yes, I do.
All right. So it depends on a single case.
It's subjective because you might have someone making, I don't know, $2,000 a month.
Yep.
Right? That's what they get paid as a salary. And their living expenses are $1,000. Okay? That's their bills.
So first step, decide or calculate how much do you need to be financially.
Calculate very carefully how much you need, which is $1,000 bare minimum to pay your bills.
Yeah.
And then you have to calculate what kind of properties you need to buy to give you that income as soon as possible.
So if there is financial freedom covering your expenses, what's next in your
Next is lifestyle.
Lifestyle. And what about it? How do you label it? How much?
Well, you can't label it because it's freedom. That's the freedom part. The freedom part is, I want to go and buy a yacht, or I'm very happy to live in my office. I've got no bills anymore.
Yeah.
Or I want to go, backpack around the world, and it's all paid for because I don't need anywhere to live. I'll do a nomadic lifestyle. Or you might have someone richer than that who's bringing in, I don't know, $50,000 a month passive income, but they've got this mindset where, you know what, I'm not satisfied with that. I want more. I want power. I want more. So they go out and do more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a great book. I had the privilege to read it. And tell us a little bit more about your 10-step system for achieving financial freedom through what
I'll have to read that again to see the 10 steps. Right. You can prompt me, right?
Just the essence.
I think the essence is always mindset. And the first step is do not listen to any advice from the government.
Okay.
Which is, it sounds controversial, right? But remember that the government used to serve the population.
Yeah.
It was very good after the Second World War. The baby boomers had lots of babies. It was a great time. But then it changed. And now people are paying more tax. They've got less freedom. They've got more control. And it's very difficult for people to leave where they are if they rely on government assistance, because they're not helping you. They're actually taking everything away from you. And this is from, I can go into the narrative, but it's basically big corporations control the government.
I agree with you because, politicians need money for their campaigns.
It's like this thing in England called
net policies.
Yeah, like net zero. I'm sure you've heard of net zero, right?
What is that?
That's the green, the green, no carbon.
Got it.
Right, so
the Green Deal part of the Green Deal.
I can see that it's just a big scam.
Yeah.
And all the top scientists said there's no climate emergency. There's no issues, right? There's no issues at all. But the narrative is you've got to go green. Everyone's dying soon, and people are losing their life, and it's really bad. But actually, China produced 60% of the carbon output of the world, right? And they're not slowing down. I mean, they build a coal factory every half an hour.
Wow,
they build a coal factory every half an hour, and they manufacture the solar panels that the UK built to put in fields, which no one wants, and the politicians get it in the back pocket. That's how it works, right? So
don't trust the government.
Don't trust the government, because any advice they give you comes from a position that they want to take something away from you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
What else in that system?
Don't listen to advice from people that haven't got what you want.
How do you find out?
You have to research. And the thing is that there's so many people on social media that say they've got lots of money, but you and I know, anyone can rent a Ferrari for a day.
Yeah.
So it's all fake. A lot of it is fake.
Could be, yeah. So
you've got to really check people out before you invest with them, that they have actually achieved. They've got the property, they've bought it, they've got the track record. I mean, on my social media, even I have to put that up quite often when I get new followers, so they don't believe it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's authenticity is now, I would say, personal brand is now the biggest asset.
We're going to talk about a little bit after that, because you have impressive amount of followers on the social media. But let me ask you something. A lot of people say, oh, I don't have the money, I don't have the capital, I cannot invest in real estate. What do you say about that?
Then why do you think people that have no money buy real estate? There must be a way, right?
Yep.
So there is a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are many strategies. But for example, normally when you're beginning in real estate, you crowdfund. You ask your friends and family contacts to share in a property purchase. And that's how you build your capital. One way of doing it.
What about working with the banks? Are you a fan of that?
Get a credit card, put it on your credit card, the deposit.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'm not a fan of banks, but they exist for a purpose, but a lot of banks don't. Banks are risk adverse.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to show a bank that you're not risk adverse. And in those 10 steps, that is in there.
Great. What about the frame that, I don't have experience, I don't know how to do it, about the belief that you have? How do you reframe that as part of that system?
There's two things you're talking about, the belief that you're not good enough or the belief that you don't have the experience.
Well, choose one.
Okay, so if you believe you're not good enough, you've got an inner issue, you've got a mindset issue, right? And the way to get over that is the way to get over depression, right? And thinking you're not good enough is by taking massive action the opposite way. Is actually being uncomfortable longer than other people can tolerate.
Just to hold on.
Until it starts working. But in that discomfort, you've got to start reading, going to events, learning from people, following people that are really making that money, following people that have suffered and gone through many things, but have got the wisdom. Yeah. That's what it's about, because mentorship is the fastest way to achieve a goal.
Tomorrow you have conference that you're going to be speaking at.
Yeah.
What is the message in a nutshell that you want to deliver to the Bulgarian public?
The message is anything's possible. You just have to believe in yourself and find the code.
And does it come from an experience, or just it sounds like motivational?
Well, I think I've, with respect, shared a lot of that experience today with you.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
But something that we didn't cover, because this was like my opening door. You're a successful entrepreneur. You managed to build such a big portfolio of properties and so on and so. What about producing and acting in movies? And those movies being on Netflix and on the on top 3, actually number 2, and you continue doing that. And how come?
So again, that's a story that was born from my imagination. That's the James Bond story. That's when I was 6 years old.
That's what we talked in the beginning while being in school.
That was the dream, always to make films, always to be in films. But for me, life got in the way, right? My success in business got in the way of the films.
Yep.
And part of me didn't believe I could do the films because it was so far apart from business into entertainment, right? But when I was 45, I basically sat down and said, listen, you know what? I've got everything I want. I don't want anything else. That's done. Business for me is done. I've got nothing to prove in business anymore. So I said, right, I want to make a film. I want to make a feature film. So what you focus on expands.
Yeah, where energy and success.
Exactly. So I focused on making this film, and I reached out to all my social media followers at that time. I think it was 2012-ish about. And I met this woman, and we wrote a script together. It was an adventure story. I was going to be starring in it. And to cut a long story short, I sent her £25,000 and I never saw her again. Oh,
you got scammed?
I got scammed.
I
got scammed.
Experienced guy?
Well, I wasn't experienced in film.
There you go. Did you use a mentor?
No, I didn't.
Do you find it is a mistake or not?
Yes, it was a mistake.
All right.
So, but
then
there was, it wasn't a complete loss, because
I'm sure
that £25,000 enabled me to meet a man called Victor Sole, who was an actor, Spanish actor, whose best friend was Adrian Bole, who I ended up making Legacy of Lies with.
Yeah.
So he said, Victor said, listen, I know you've been burned. Come to Holland and meet Adrian. He wants to make a film.
Yeah.
He's really ambitious like you. He wants to do it, but he's not made it. He's really experienced. He makes MTV, admitted he got loads of awards, but he hadn't broken through to feature film. So he became a kind of mentor and guide for me in filmmaking, right? And we kind of had the same goals, and that was really good because we wanted the same thing. It wasn't about money, it was about making a great film. And
do what you want to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a writer, script writer, and he came up with this idea.
Yeah.
And you're going to love this story. I know where you're going with this. So he came up with this idea of a film based on a true story. Because his wife was Ukrainian. And in 1999, the Russians bombed a building in Kiev and killed a lot of people, but it was all covered up. Okay. So he wrote this script with his wife and said, listen, Marco, this story is very political, but it's going to get a lot of attention. And the film was called Truth 99. Right? So me being naive about filmmaking, right? So we started making this film, put the money in the film. And then one day Adrian calls me and he said, listen, are you sitting down? I said, why? He said, just fucking sit down. So I sat down. I said, listen, your face is all over Russian news TV. And I said, that's fantastic PR.
Great.
Yeah, right? He said, no, it is not good PR. It's not good. And then he went on to explain to me They've put your Facebook post, your Instagram post, and they've circled in red what you've said about Putin about bombing that building in Kiev.
Ooh.
And I go, why me? It's your film, not my film. He said, yeah, but you're the star of the film. So I'm like, oh my God, really? And I'm not believing what he's saying to me because it sounds so bizarre, right?
Unreal.
Unreal. So I said, well, right now, Adrian, I'm obviously quite scared on what you said, but I don't believe it yet because I've not even seen that newsreel. So I got the newsreel sent over to me.
Yeah.
And it was true.
True.
And when you see your face on Russian news and they're saying about me, this is a dead man walking.
Man.
That was the scariest I've ever been in my life.
You got scared, really scared.
I was scared.
What happened after that? How did it?
How do you process that, first of all, right?
I can't imagine, really.
So
I don't want to mess with
my response was just to contact every Russian I knew.
Okay.
Because I'd spent a long time in Kiev actually casting for the film. So I knew a lot of Russians.
Okay.
And I reached out to everyone that I knew. And this woman I was very close with, not sexually, but just a friend. And I said, Anastasia, woman's called Anastasia, by the way, in Russia. I said, Anastasia, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? And she said, oh, don't worry, this happens all the time. I said, what do you mean it happens all the time? This happens at the time, they play the game, you go on the news, nothing happened, don't worry. So, of course, I am worried, and that did not reassure me, right? And it was just getting on, and anyway, at the same time this was all happening, I think for about a good year, I was talking to a girl that I was kind of having a thing with.
Okay.
And she was Russian, and she was absolutely stunning.
Okay.
She was like a James Bond girl, it was stunning.
Oh, James Bond, his girl.
So anyway, we'd been talking for about a year, and I lived in Malaysia at the time. And she said to me one day, Mark, I'm going to come and see you and stay with you. I said, sure. So
welcome.
She came, picked her up.
Yep.
3 days in bed.
Yep.
On the third day, completely naked, red silk sheets, 4-poster bed, straight out of Russia with Love, right? She says to me, I don't think you should make that film, Marco.
Oh, okay.
In bed, naked. And I'm going, what the heck? Why would you say that?
That's really interesting.
And she said, because I'm not who you think I am.
Yeah, who does she work for?
I said, okay. I said, who the f*** are you?
Really?
She says, well, I'm a Russian FSB agent.
Come on, really?
And I've been sent here to warn you that if you make that film, we cannot guarantee safety.
You gotta be kidding me. That's for real.
The exact words.
Come on, man.
The exact words she used.
You got a message from the main guy.
And then when she went on to say,
yeah.
I travel the world, I sell weapons to different countries. My best-selling weapon is cyanide.
Oh, man. And that's
and this is poisonous. A picture of me and President Putin on a mobile phone.
Oh.
While I'm naked in bed.
Buddies.
So everything then started shrinking.
And that led you to the movie?
Well, let me go on.
Yeah.
So, in that situation, I'd never been in that situation, but I'd been in some dangerous situations. So my survival instincts kicked, and I said, okay, I don't believe you. And then she said, the office is bugged and all that kind of stuff. I don't believe you, but you know what? That's okay. Because she was due to stay with me for another week, and she could have killed me in that time. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do? So my kind of like thinking was get her in public with me and make sure other people see her with me. But if anything does happen...
Yeah, smart.
Yeah. It took me 3 days to think about what she told me. And in that time, I had my office swept for bugs, and there was 100 bugs in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Like those? Okay.
Yeah. Just like out of a spy film.
Like
you couldn't make it up.
Yeah, man.
So it took me 3 days, and I said to her, listen, Anastasia. She was always called Anastasia.
Oh, come on, really?
Really? I said, listen, Anastasia.
Well, that's not a coincidence. Real name, Anastasia?
Well, obviously not. But I said, listen, Anastasia, I've had 3 days to think about what you told me. I said, number one, I'm not going to make that film. It's too dangerous. So let's go back to the dream of making the film. That's twice now I've been denied. So I'm pissed because now, the second time I can't make a freaking film. And I said, listen, I'm not going to make the film. Secondly, you're due to stay with me for another week. And it could be the last 7 days of my life. And I said, I'm going to have a really good time if you want to stay. So, are you in or not?
Good.
And she laughed.
Oh, really?
She said, no one's ever said that to me. I said, I don't think so. So we had a good time. We had a good time because it's like the last 7 days of your life.
Yeah.
Anything could happen.
Yeah.
So it was the best sex, right? So anyway, she went away. We finished the film, couldn't do it. And then 6 months later, we said to each other, well, why don't we make a fictional spy thriller?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to do with that, but kind of an ironic twist about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we called it Legacy of Lies, wrote the script.
Yeah.
And then, long story, very short, but it was the hardest thing because we raised 5 million to do it.
Yeah.
Which is the hardest thing I've ever done. Way harder than property.
Oh, okay.
Because the film is not a tangible asset, it's a huge risk, right?
Huge risk, yeah, I guess.
And then we were in 2019, we were filming it in Kiev.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in my hotel and I got a phone call. I said, Mr. Robinson, there's someone here to see you that knows you. I said, I don't know anyone in Kiev. He said, well, they know you. Her name's Anastasia. I thought, oh, shit. So anyway, she said, can you come down? So I went down.
Yeah.
And it was her.
Yeah.
And she said, let's have lunch. And she said, listen, I'm going to come on the film set and close it down.
No way. Again.
Because I don't believe you that you're not making that film. So I lost it, got really angry. I said, F you. There's no way you're going to do that, right? I don't want to see you ever again. Go for yourself. I never saw her again.
Yeah.
And we made the film, and it went to #2 Netflix, and it was incredible.
And you're still alive.
And still alive.
And man, that's a good spy story, man. That's amazing.
That's pretty good because now, when that happened, you never think you'd be in that situation. It's literally what the actual. So, and when that happened, I was celebrating.
Yeah.
And I said to the universe, what can I do to top this?
Mm-hmm.
And the universe said, why don't you write a musical about that? Why don't you learn to sing? And why don't you call it Legacy of Spies?
No way. And?
So I took 2 years. I learned to sing. I did my first concert 2 weeks ago. I've written the musical. It comes out next year.
Great. What are you, a better singer or a better actor?
I can do both.
You
very
can do
well.
both. Great.
Yeah.
Talking about that, tell me, how can we choose or find our personal mission in life?
It's interesting because I'm writing a book now called Bucket List, Do the Thing. Exactly on that topic, right?
That's news.
Yeah. And I break it down how to find out what you want, reverse engineering it, and having a framework to go and get it. That's what I talk about in my new book.
When it's supposed to come out?
That's going to be out hopefully at the end of the year.
We hope we're going to get it in Bulgarian as well.
Yeah.
We keep our fingers crossed. Some final questions. How do you manage to create such a big and loyal like mass of fans and subscribers on your social media channels?
Number one, be yourself.
Authentic.
Yeah. Authenticity is the number one asset in social media right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about strategy, there's 3 C's: courage, content, consistency. Right? People love courage more than anything. They love you showing up, doing what you want to do, doing everything you want to do, and doing more of you. Right? Gary Vaynerchuk says, be more of you.
Yeah.
You know? So that's what I do, right? But the strategy is you've got to create content that matches your personal brand, because personal brand is worth more than Bitcoin.
I agree with you. What about haters?
I get more haters now than ever before. The more success you have, the more haters you have. Because all the haters are all, there's never a hater doing better than you.
You truly believe that?
There isn't.
I've
never met a hater above me.
That's kind of true.
All the haters are below me.
Talking about that, I was impressed. You gave away at least three houses to homeless people, which is part of your mission.
Yeah.
And by the way, is it connected with the knighthood of being a sir?
No, that wasn't. That was before that.
That's before, but what you do, most probably, this was leading to that, because you help a lot of homeless people.
The knighthood was about 3 or 4 years before that TV show.
Oh, really? What? Yeah. How come? Just a quick one.
The knighthood was because I'd been in Asia so long and created over 100,000 jobs in what I was doing, they recognized that. Because it wasn't for me, there's no way those businesses would have that many opportunities. And a lot of those people that I hired became entrepreneurs, and they honored me. Basically, they honored me.
Yeah.
And yes, I've done a lot for charity as well, and that helped. But yeah,
Freedom X?
Sorry?
Freedom X, is it still alive?
That's no. I don't have no time to do it, but I do work with a charity partner where it's more, for me, better for my time. Yeah, for homelessness.
And you gave away 3 of your homes to homeless people in the UK?
Yeah, we made a TV show on Channel 4.
Which is very, very famous.
Huge, biggest TV station in the UK.
And you were like the host?
And they asked me, Marco, we've read about your story, we love it, would you like to do a TV show and give a house away to address the homeless situation? So,
how did you feel when you gave away a house, and how did they feel when...
It was interesting because when I gave that house away, it was something I didn't have. So it was extremely emotional.
Because you were like...
Because when I was a kid and surviving, I didn't have time to cry. I didn't have space to feel sorry for myself.
You had to work.
I just had to go and do it. So I didn't really cry for 50 years. When I gave that house away, I cried for 6 months non-stop. Because I gave the house away to my mum and her kid.
Yeah.
And they were 22 and the daughter was 2. That's how old my mum was and I was.
Coincidence?
Yeah, not coincidence.
Not coincidence. Amazing. Do you keep in touch with those people?
Yes.
How do they do in life?
Very well.
They're great?
Yeah.
Are they thankful?
Of course, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
How did the world respond to that?
Oh, it went nuts. We went to 70 countries. I mean, the outreach was incredible. Still is.
Man.
Yeah.
Marco, we gotta stop because I promised you an hour and we're about that. I have so many questions to ask you, but it was such a great honor. Let me ask you the final questions that I ask every single of my guests, right? All right. What is the best advice you give to a new investor that you could give?
The best advice is don't invest in anything until you've invested in yourself.
Great. What does motivate you each morning?
The realization that I can do anything I want. I've got limitless potential.
And when you feel bad or out of shape, what do you do to come back?
Go running.
And do you have a favorite business book or a podcast that you can recommend?
So many. I think Think and Grow Rich is one of the best books ever written.
Great. Napoleon Hill.
Yeah, Napoleon
All right. Final question. What do you want to be remembered of or with?
Making a huge difference and really showing people that they can do anything they want.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did we miss something that we should have talked about?
You missed loads, but no time.
No time.
Yeah.
Finally, how do people find you online? How do they...
Instagram!
Where at?
Marco Robinson now.
Man,
with a blue tick. Yeah.
It was an honor. Thank you very much. Good luck tomorrow at the conference. And please come back because that's what you have achieved is of great value of people who want to consume it. Thank you, Sir Marco Robinson. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.